I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody, for being here this morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Secretary, could you let us know if we have
This one? Yeah. This meeting was properly noticed. I'd like to move to the Secretary's report, and I would move that we accept without reading the minutes from the November 30th executive meeting, December 12th executive session, and the last regular meeting, December 12th.
Is there any changes to those minutes? Everybody's on board? Hearing that there's no changes, I make a motion that we approve those minutes without reading.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is mine? Can you guys hear me?
I guess we're under my comments now. Updates, pickleball. Oh, we did it. I'm sorry. Bruce, I'm sorry. Correspondence. Okay.
Well, we only had 90, and if you didn't bring your sleeping bag, you're okay, because I'm going to group a lot of them together and try to go through it very quickly. We had a complaint about channel 195 not working, complaint about children in the pool after sunset. Yeah. Only 23 comments about Comcast issues. Two about coupon book versus auto pay. And the quick answer for those of you who don't know, even though you are on auto pay, you did get the coupon book. A report of a fire hydrant leak. 2 reports of fitness center maintenance problems. 1 complaint about the street signs are hard to read at night. 5 irrigation issues, 4 landscape issues, 6 lighting issues, 1 paint color question, 1 palm replacement question, palm tree replacement question, 11 comments of the pool water's too cold. We had a failure of the pool heater, and it took a day or so to get warm. 1 complaint about a poor condition of one of the property's residences here in Village Rock. Praise for holiday decorations. Question about problem getting amenities key from the bottom here. Problems with tennis brushes, public sidewalk issues, question on paper issues, question on Comcast rates, question on pickleball court reservations. Quick answer is no, you cannot reserve pickleball courts. Request for turn lanes at the entrance exit and 4 corners. A request that the holiday lights be kept year-round. Request for a meeting with the general manager. Request to change the date that you can put up enclosed permanent shutters. I think there's going to be discussion on that later in today's meeting. Question on the directory, residence directory update, and analysis that will be out probably middle of next month. Report of damage to a tree by a garbage truck. Report of illegal parking. Some invoicing support for advertising and talk of the walk. Support for the tennis committee request. Report of a suspicious person. Someone complaining that the tennis court closures are not emailed like they used to be. 3 reports of tennis net too low on the tennis courts. Tennis court scoreboard broken. Someone thanking us for the ice machine in the tennis courts. question about the toy drive, the question about a wall cleaning issue, and another question asking when the video of the HOA meeting would be available. And 3 people felt we had the wrong channels on the fitness TVs.
Bruce, thank you. On my comments tonight, we're going to do some updating. Pickleball starting. The city has requested an answer to one question in their summary review. So once the engineers answer that question, they should submit the permit. So that's getting very close. Restaurant awning is still in the permit stage. We're waiting for the city on that. As you know, we've been doing some concrete sidewalk repairs throughout the community. We did quad 1 and 2. Quad 3 and 4 will be in the middle of February to start those sections, and we hope to have them all done before very long. He's just grinding. We're replacing those that we can't grind. He's also given us a price to root cut. So if we have areas that we can see it's starting to raise, continue to raise, we can go in and cut the roots. And so it's been a good price for that. Town center dome light, the board approved to have the light lit on the main building. However, the city denied our request because they have a dark sky ordinance, and anything above 25 feet is not to be lit. Community mulch, they started on Monday. They're going counterclockwise around the development here. They're on the 4th quad now, and they're going to continue. The reason they went counterclockwise this year is because of the weeding that the land care is doing. So they're working in opposite directions. So the weeds will be killed before they get there, hopefully. So that's hopefully good news. The water line that everybody's talking about in the back, south buffer on the east side that runs all the time, that's not a fire hydrant. What that is a dead end line for the BSU. And if they don't run it, then gunk will accumulate in there, and we could possibly get it in our drinking water. So they let that flush. So if you see that running, it's not something broken; it's just flushing the line. We've also started to do some investigating on sign replacement, street signs. I put a call into Polk to find out who the manufacturer was of the originals. If we can find them and get something the same from them, and maybe make it easier to slip in and slip out the old ones, slip the new ones in. So we are working on that. Sidewalk cleaning was the other issue everybody brought up. We have a price from a contractor to do that. It's $4,700 for 5,200 feet, roughly a mile. But what we want to do first is find a way to maintain it once they're clean. Because when you clean them now, 3 months later, they're black again. So why waste that money? So we're working, Rex's crew is working on a small chemical tank and a spray bar to put underneath the golf cart. And if we can find a chemical that will maintain at least for a year or two, then we can have them cleaned properly and it's just maintained. So we are looking into those things, and I hope that puts your mind at ease for a little bit until we get to that point. Other than that, that's all that I have today. We'll move on to the Vice President.
Thanks, Matt. I'm going to start with the town center refresh. And as you can see, we have furniture arriving like every other week here. It's coming in very piecemeal because it's coming in from so many different suppliers. So we're kind of at their mercy as far as their manufacturing schedules. We also had some delays when we were setting them up as vendors in KW's system. It was hard getting some of these vendors to respond with all the appropriate information that was needed in order to cut checks to them. So that caused some delays here and there. But we did, I don't know if you noticed on your way in, we now have great room furniture that arrived. So the sofa came in. We have the chairs in front of the TV set. The only thing we're waiting for in that room now, we have 4 chairs that are on back order in front of the fireplace. So we expect those to come in within the next month. The lobby furniture is due in Thursday. So you'll see all of that replaced. We also had a request from the fire department for certificates of fire retardancy, which was very interesting because the furniture hadn't even arrived yet, but they're looking for the certificates. So those have all been turned into the office. They're gonna get those over to the fire department, with the exception of the carpet, which we have coming to you, so, we got on top of that one. So it's all commercial grade stuff that we bought, so there's no fears there about fire retardants. The other item as far as town center refresh is what to do with all the old stuff. And as we've talked about in many, many meetings, we plan on having a garage sale for the residents and offer all of this up for sale. So this is still what the committee is proposing to move forward with. So, yeah, I know I do. So, yeah, we'll have an action item on it, but I just wanted to tell everybody what we have is 41 items that we want to offer out for sale. So we will have that as an action item later in the meeting. Move on to Comcast. Want to remind everybody that Comcast has techs here on site Tuesday from 12 to 3 and Thursday from 3 to 7. These are really the advanced techs who can help you if you've called and you've had people come out and you're having ongoing issues, you have a ticket open, you've reported an issue, but still want that extra push. Please don't email me because I'm just going to send you up here. These guys are excellent. They're very responsive. They actually followed me home last week to fix an issue that I had. So I'm utilizing them as well as you. So, you know, we continue to have just spotty issues. I'm told that it's not isolated to Village Walk. This is bigger than all of us. And Comcast continues to have their engineers work on it. They keep sending through software fixes. And I swear, when they fix one thing, they break another. That's the way it feels anyway. I've had a lot of trouble since I came back at the beginning of the month. As of last Friday, we've completed 1,122 installations, and we have another 26 that were scheduled. So I urge the other 500 of you to get on that schedule. We're trying to get everybody converted. So please get it scheduled out there while you still have the opportunity for free installation. ACC, we had an ACC committee member appointment. I would like to table that item. And ACC meeting protocol update. Last meeting we talked about just changing up the meeting protocol and the way we would operate the ACC meeting. And I have to tell you, that meeting runs a lot smoother and a lot faster than they ever did with having this protocol. Because the way it works now is you have to Thursday afternoon to get in your application. The committee comes in on Friday morning at 10 o'clock. They look at all the applications, and if they have any questions, they reach out to the homeowner, request a visit to your property if it's warranted for something, you know, like a pool or lanai, landscaping. And so they're doing that and having face-to-face conversation with the resident in advance. So by the time we get to Monday's meeting, a lot of the questions have been answered, and they know exactly what action to take. So, you know, the applications are being passed around the table, reviewed by everybody on the committee, and then a vote is taken whether to approve or disapprove. So I think it's going a lot smoother these days. So kudos to the committee. Last item I have is hurricane shutters, and I have an action item on there. We had a request, which I totally support, to, right now we say you can put up your hurricane shutters from June 1st to November 30th. And we have a request again this year to change that to May 1st. Because our covenants still say June, but especially because of Easter being so late. In April, a lot of people want to close them as they're leaving town. So I will cover that as an action item.
Thank you. Treasurer's report, Bill.
Thank you, Matt. First of all, Happy New Year to everyone. It's been a while since we've had a board meeting and we almost forget how to do it, but bear with us, please. I have an update on finances and a couple of other things I want to include also. Current receivables as of year end, we have $72,000 due to the association as of the end of December. We moved at the December meeting to suspend FOB and entry privileges for 26 properties, and that number has now come down to 7. So there was an immediate response to that. For a special assessment, our special assessment collections, we have $11,000 due currently on the $993,000 assessment, and that is 20 people still unpaid. but we are making progress and chipping away at it. We are finding there was some initial confusion which delayed some of the payments, but I believe we're getting all those accounts straightened out. Kimberly has been terrific, doing a lot of work on it, as well as corporate on our receivables in the account. So moving forward, we should have a very smooth year. One interesting development, adding to some of the items that I thought would be of interest that aren't specifically on the agenda. We have closed 9 bank accounts for the association, and we're making an investment in CDARS, which is the Certificate of Deposit Account Registry Service. And that's going to enable us to get a greater return on our funds. We have had over 20 bank accounts. Our objective is to narrow that down to 5 accounts, so much easier to manage and to manage the amounts and make sure that we're fully covered by FDIC insurance. And we're making a projection of income on our assets of over $50,000 in the next year with this change. And it is in the works right now. Paperwork's been signed. I think the initial investment has been made, and we have closed about 9 of the bank accounts so far. So that's great news for us. All, again, fully insured and easier to manage for us. Our year-end financials have gone to the auditor as of yesterday. On the operating expenses, we are $218,000 under budget. There was the savings in mulch. That was a primary savings, but we also had some unforeseen expenses and the opportunity to improve work on the bridges and the sidewalks. Some of those items will be reclassified, but we are in good shape. $218,000 under on about a $7.5 million budget. We are also over on income by about $50,000, so that is more to our advantage, which is great news. There's been discussion about the resale account, which we approved a few years ago. In the past 12 months, we've had 123 resales here, and we have generated almost $143,000 of revenue for the account. So that 143 is something we would not have had without passing that amendment. Our storm assessment, we have the detail now by vendor, was $993,000 for the special assessment. We received $192,000 for insurance proceeds, and we have a detailed expenditure of $1,195,213. So we're right on target with that. And in addition to repairing all of the storm damage, we were really able to upgrade some of the plantings around the community and the condition of some of the buildings damaged by storms, but really brought up to speed with these extra resources. So that's terrific news for the association.
Is that on the web bill right now for everybody?
It has not been posted. I will say there are 2 items of 3 pages of detail. There are 2 items where we've just gotten bids in from 2 vendors that will come up to that number, and management will tell us when we might want to have those actual invoices before it's posted, but it is available. If someone wants it, send me an email. I'll send it to you.
It is posted on the website.
Oh, wonderful.
It's in our financial section.
Thank you. Reserves, we've spent a lot of money this year. We've certainly gotten a lot done. But we started the year with just over $1.8 million in our pooled reserves, and we ended the year with just under 1.7 million in reserves. So although we have made a number of improvements in the community, we're still in a very strong reserve position, and our balances are consistent with the 30-year projection that we've made with the replacement reserve study that is still underway. Just a final note from me, covenants rewrite. We're working patiently. We appreciate the committee's efforts on this. As of yesterday, we got an email from the partner at the law firm. She said, we are nearly finished with the first draft and anticipate having that draft to you by the end of next week. So that was as of yesterday. So hopefully we'll be able to start that work in the next year, which is exciting for the association. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Secretary's comments, Bruce?
Okay, a couple of the projects we're continuing to work on and continuing to refine and narrow down. Especially the telephone, we found a vendor that we're probably going to be interviewing and coming up with some recommendations and suggestions in the next couple of weeks on the phone system. We've also narrowed down the security camera contracts. We've gotten bids from 2, and we'll be making a final decision probably next week on that. So by the next meeting, we should have some action items on those.
Great. Is that it, Bill? Yeah. Bruce, thank you. General Manager, Mr. Jerry.
The first thing I have relates to the annual meeting and elections. And we had no candidates provide us with a notice of intent to be a candidate. But we did have 2 folks, and I'm going to correct that in a moment. We did have 2 folks who told us in advance that they wanted to help out, and they weren't sure that they had enough time to commit, but that if nobody else came forward, they would find that time to commit and help the association out. And those 2 people were Ray Dobbins and Randy Van Alstein. So those 2 people did actually submit an intent to be a candidate yesterday, late afternoon. And as a result of there being 2 openings for the board and 2 candidates, there will be no need for an election, and those 2 individuals will be elected to the board on March 12th. I do want to talk a little bit more about the annual meeting. Well, Ray Dobbins was actually heading up a committee called the Elections Committee, and they were really instrumental in helping us stuff 1,600 envelopes with about 12, 14 pieces of paper in them. So because of the timeline of the meeting and the state requirements for certain notices, we didn't have the luxury of waiting until the candidates came forward before we stuffed the first 12 pieces of paper in the envelopes. So if you've been in the boardroom, you'll see the boardroom is stacked with envelopes. So obviously we don't have the need for the election now. The election committee is no longer needed, but we are going to need those people on the committee as a volunteer group to help us pull out of those 1,600 envelopes the ballots and then put in. I have an explanation sheet for the proxy. I'm actually going to go over real quick what you're going to get in the mail because it's a little bit different now that we don't have candidates. So everybody will get an envelope that looks like this. And when you open it up, it'll look just like that blue envelope. And I'd like to read to you this because I want to emphasize the need. This is about proxies. Instructions for use of your proxy if not attending the meeting. As you may be aware, the Association Board of Directors have 2 openings to be filled. 2 candidates submitted a notice of intent to run for the board. As a result, no elections are needed, and those 2 candidates will be automatically elected to the board. Regardless of the elections, the annual meeting of members cannot take place without at least 30% of voting eligible membership present in person or by proxy. As such, if you're unable to attend the meeting, please submit a proxy with your ballot so that your proxy will count towards that quorum. Your proxy can only establish quorum, meaning your proxy will not be allowed to vote on your behalf. I think the only vote we really have is for the meeting minutes from the previous year. So if you're unable to attend the meeting in person and wish to return the blue proxy, which is right here, so that your blue proxy can be counted toward the quorum requirement of the meeting, please note the following. A, the proxy must be signed by a record owner of the unit. The proxy should be submitted to the association prior to the scheduled time of the meeting. It can be provided to your street rep, or it can be hand delivered to the HOA or mailed and then give our address. C, it's encouraged that the proxy be submitted as long before the meeting as possible in order to delay registration. What I really wanted to say there is it's important for it to be turned in early so the association can keep count of where we're at, because if we get closer to the meeting and we're not meeting that 30%, we can take some extreme measures, ultimately email blast going door to door with blank proxies, whatever it takes to get that. I think the number we need is 497, it could be 498, it's 497 point something. So we need 498, either people in person or through proxy. I'm assuming we get 200 people here, then we need 298 blue proxies. D, if you appoint a proxy, okay, so that's really the basic message. The rest I have are exceptions. If you appoint a proxy and later decide you will be attending the meeting, you may withdraw your proxy when you register the meeting. We'll have them all in alphabetical order. We'll have the sign in alphabetical order. So the delay in registration, that's there too, because that's going to cause a delay us finding your proxy. So the sooner you do that, the better, unless you're not sure. And if you're not sure if you're going to attend or not, maybe hold out until you are sure. E, a proxy may be revoked in writing or superseded by a later proxy to another person. It may also be assigned or substituted by the person. We'll also have a form in your packet. It's substitution of proxy. And basically what that means is, again, this might happen once. It means that if you weren't going to be here and you gave your proxy to you, and then a week before the meeting you had an emergency, couldn't attend, you can fill out your proxy to someone else, and there's a substitution of proxy form for his that you can fill out. It's a lot to go through. Yeah. Lastly, a proxy form and envelope is enclosed with this notice for your use. So you will have this blue envelope if you choose to put a stamp on it and mail it. But again, I doubt very many people, if any, will do it, because you can't hand it to your street rep, or you can send, or anybody. I say street rep, you can hand it to anybody. We just need it in the HOA office. Okay? And I would like to take one more moment to read this blue proxy. It's a lot of verbiage on here, but it's really important. And it says, general proxy, the undersigned owner or designated voter of the unit located at, you got to fill in your address, in Village Walk Convenience Springs Homeowner Association hereby appoints, and you're going to insert the name of that person, or leave blank. And this is what we're encouraging everybody to do. Basically, just put your address in and sign at the date and sign at the bottom and leave it blank. Because if it's blank, and I'm just going to go on and tell you this, the secretary of the association gets that proxy. And so what will happen is our secretary, Bruce, will sign in, and he may have, when he signs in, he may have 350, 400 proxies. So he'll be signing in for 350, 400 people. So going on with the form, as proxy holders attend the meeting of the members of Village Walk Convenience Springs Homeowners Association to be held, and lists the date, March 12, 6:30 in the town center, is the address. The proxy holder named above has the authority to vote and act for me to the same extent that if I was personally present, with powers of substitution, except that my proxy holder's authority is limited, as indicated below. And below it says general powers. I authorize and instruct my proxy to use his or her best judgment on all other matters which properly come before the meeting and for which a general power may be used. Since there are no issues to be voted on by limited proxy, this shall be a general proxy for quorum purposes only. Again, you date and sign. So the message here is, the only thing you need to do is put your address in it, date it, and sign it, and put it in the envelope and get it to the HOA. And that would help the association out tremendously, because again, we need 498 people in person or proxy to even have the meeting. And there are protocols if we don't meet quorum. I've never, 17 years, never not met quorum, and we've got plans in place to make sure we get it. But again, all the help we get from you guys will be appreciated. And the other thing in your mailing that you're going to get, I already talked about the substitution of proxy, the notice of organizational meeting, which is basically required by law 48 hours to give notice before a meeting of the board. And this organizational meeting, you might have seen it last year if you were here, after the board is elected, are required to have an organizational meeting for the primary purpose of electing the officers, and they do that amongst themselves by vote. And the last thing that it will include in here is the meeting, or the meeting minutes from last year, so you can take a look at them. And what we'll do again, the big difference, people think, well, why do we get these? Well, the annual meeting is actually a members meeting, so the meeting is your meeting. Whereas these board meetings we have now are the board, so the board votes on their own minutes. I will ask a motion at the annual meeting, someone in the audience, the motion to approve last year's minutes, because again, they're yours. And then we'll also get someone from the audience to give a second, same thing the board does for their minutes.
Little different than previous years, so just pay attention for the blue envelope. We said, sign it, get it in, get it back to us, and we can move forward with the meeting.
And I will send out an email blast. Obviously, not everybody's here, not everybody will watch. We'll send out an email blast with the same instructions that I just gave you. And we'll probably escalate those. After a couple of weeks, if you start seeing more come, you can pretty much guess that we're a little bit low on proxies. But we hope to get to 500 pretty quick. Thank you.
May I make a comment? We appointed Ray to chair the elections committee in December. We, as a board, have never heard who has volunteered to serve on the elections committee. And I would like that information. And I imagine that those people will be involved in checking people into the meeting so that we can keep track of our quorum at the meeting itself. I would also like to suggest that we still have at least one candidate's night. I know that when I was running for office, it was very valuable to me to get a better sense of what people were expecting and looking for, and also to share my vision with residents. And I think that even though we're not having an election, I think it might be a very useful process for owners and also for our new board members.
Thank you, I agree. And we are having one Meet the Candidates night, and I think the consensus so far is to hold it in the evening. That date was already sent to you guys. We'll be emailing. We sent you in the first notice, there were two dates. One was a Tuesday afternoon, and we call it almost a Thursday evening. We're likely going to keep Thursday evening, same day, same time. However, that decision has not been finalized. It will very soon. We're meeting as a group on Thursday at 10 a.m. and we'll finalize that, and that'll go out in an email blast. But we think it's important, and the likely type of environment will be as both of our candidates will probably give a 5-minute speech telling you guys about themselves, etc. And then we'll have an open Q&A, and that's probably the format that we're going to go into. A lot different than if there were more than two candidates. And Ray Dobbins is sitting over here.
Stand up, you two guys, please. Randy, stand up, please. So that's the target you have on the candidates night, so bring your tomatoes.
Thank you.
And Ray, would you mind telling the audience who has volunteered with your election?
Yeah, it was,
Come to the mic so everybody can hear.
While he's walking over to the mic, the candidates night that you have is February 12th
Thank you.
at 6:30.
Thank you.
Okay, my election group was Kelly Short, it was Joe Ventry, it was Ray Barone, Linda Smart, Roger Ramos. Who am I forgetting? Oh, Mike Smart helped me, and that was our group. And we stuffed 1,655 envelopes, and now we have to unstuff them, I guess. That's fine. And I just want to thank everyone for the opportunity. We kind of decided that I'd like to give this a try, and I appreciate it. And it's going to take two people to replace Robin anyway, so that's the deal. So thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks for your volunteerism. Thanks, Randy. Next update I have is on Olin 1, and we've had a little bit of permitting issues. Nothing troubling, nothing they can't get by, but I think that the overlying concern was the folks before them didn't have the same permitting as they're after, but they're telling us that they're days away, like 2 or 3, and then they hope to be in there at the latest by February 15th. That is from the owner's statement this morning. And then lastly, I had the special assessment report. I think Bill covered that for me. And again, it's on the website if you're interested to take a look at that. And we do have my assistant general manager, Kim Bruges, is going to give an update on a couple of agenda items. And would you mind going to that? Or here, you take this.
Okay, we've had a few reports in the administrative office in regards to bicycles not yielding to pedestrians. So just as a reminder, the pedestrians do have the right of way, and as a courtesy, we're just asking you to, please make sure that you are doing that. Also in regards to compliance, some of you, maybe not here in the room, but maybe out there watching this at home, have received some letters in the mail in regards to your roof and cleaning that. I'm working on the last quadrant right now. So those violations letters will be going out in the next week or two. At that point, once that is complete, I will be going back around to the first quadrant I started working on, and then working on second violations. I do appreciate a lot of people that have reached out to me, letting me know that they scheduled cleaning and are taking care of the situation or have resolved it. We are understanding that contractors are taking a little bit longer to come out to your community, to your home, because we are in season. So if you have received a letter, just please communicate to me that you are going to take care of it, and I am making notes of that. So, all right, thank you.
Thanks. All right, action items. First one tonight is delinquent homeowner barcode and the Mendy fob deactivation.
I will take that. Kimberly has worked very closely with accounting and also the law firm. Again, we put forth 26 properties a month ago. We have 5 that are remaining shut-off fobs and barcodes. This afternoon, I would like to make a motion for one additional lot, 1308, to be shut off at the gate in the fobs. Excuse me, the gate barcode deactivated. They still will have access to the community, and to shut off the fob at lot number 1308.
So you're making that motion, I will second that motion. Any questions from the floor? Comments? Seeing none, any comments or questions from the board? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Second action item tonight is council legal. Again, Bill, I think you have that number.
Yes, it's the same lot, 1308, to be sent to legal, as it is over $1,500 past due over 90 days. Second.
Did you make a motion on that, Bill?
I make that motion.
Who seconded this? Any comments from the floor on that? Seeing none, any comments from the board? All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Security contract renewal, since we have no activity. So the contract for the security, Bruce, I think you, I'm sorry.
Sorry. We are renewing the security contract for Allied, the guys up front and the guys that work here from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. nightly. Last year, we paid, the contract amount was $183,811. This year, we anticipated a 3% overall increase, and we mandated that our one primary long-term employee, our guard, we received a raise. I don't want to go over the exact amount, but she was satisfied that it was negotiated, and it still kept the overall contract within that 3%. So this year's contract comes out to $189,300, and in the 2019 budget, we budgeted $189,314. So it looks like Bill, we've got $14 extra. I recommend the board make a motion renewing the Association Security Service contract with Allied Universal Security in the amount of $189,300 retroactive to January 1.
I'll make that motion as read. Any second?
I'll second.
Any comments from the floor?
Well, from the floor first, okay, excuse me.
Seeing none, any comments from the floor? Bill?
I understand that some of the protocols have been changed, Jerry. I wonder if you might review the new procedure for a roving guard specifically.
So we have a guard that many of you know and have probably seen that works 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. And quite frankly, during the transition, it was something that was prioritized a little bit later in the road. And then after about 3 or 4 months, we noticed that there was not a lot of management from this person, oversight from this person. So in a series of meetings with Allied, that's been corrected. So I think now you won't see the guard sitting in the chair watching television. Right? So, and one of the other things that we recently implemented about a month ago, GPS device was activated on the roving patrol's telephone, and we can get a graph that shows, I think it's every 30 seconds a blip, and they can map it so you can follow where that guard was. And the other thing that it's been delivered, I think a lot of you who have ever seen or been involved with security will know about this, but they're key stations is what they're called. And basically it's a barcode that we put in every asset or every spot that we want the guard to either walk by or inspect. And I identified 40 of them. And basically they start at the swimming pool at 6 o'clock, and then they go directly, just because it's a high priority, and they go to the maintenance facility, and then they work their way through the tennis courts, through the town center exterior, town center interior, and around all of the retail, and then they go out to the bocce ball and end up at the basketball courts, and they're tasked to do that continually. They have to do it the first thing that they get here, and they have to do it the last thing. And then in between, they're required to do that, but then obviously there's going to be times that they talk to homeowners about issues or whatever. Well, anytime there's a break in that action, they have to do an incident report that tells us why those barcodes were hit. I didn't say it. The barcodes go on the asset, and then there's a device on their telephone that they put up against, and we get the reports on the time and the location. So we're managing that very closely, and thus far it's been pretty successful. Now the barcodes they're ready right now. They were going to come out today, but obviously we had this meeting, and their supervisor who's bringing them is gone for the next 4 days. So he's coming back late next week or early the following, meeting with Kimberly, and they're attaching all of those. So we're very close. Thank you, Bill, for that opportunity.
And thank you. Already I see much higher visibility for this roving person on the property, and I think they would benefit from that.
Guys that play foot and hand will need another partner, guys, not available. Hand and foot. Hand and foot. All right, so we have a motion on the floor to accept this contract. Seeing any comments from the floor? Any more from the board?
I just want to thank Jerry for straightening out the roving guard, because I was one who spent many an evening up here witnessing the stagnation. So I appreciate you keeping them moving.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor of this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Disposal of town center furniture and accessories. I believe Robin wants this action.
Yep, thank you. Just as we did with the pool furniture, where we offered that for sale to the residents, which was very successful in helping us not only move the furniture, but to accessorize the residents' lanais. We want to do the same with the furniture and accessories that are out here in the town center. You've seen a lot of furniture come in already, and we're looking to get homes for all the stuff that we've replaced. So what we'd like to do, we have 41 items identified that either are being replaced or they just plain old don't match. Some of the accessories are just different colors when we change the whole color scheme. So what I would like to make a motion to sell 41 of the items out there to our residents and offer it for sale first to the residents. And then if they don't sell, to donate them to a nonprofit. So those items are 2 sofas, 2 love seats, 11 chairs, 2 tables, 3 vases, 2 hurricane lamps, 1 mirror, 9 trees and plants, 4 pictures, 2 decorative boxes, 2 lamps, 2 chandeliers, and 1 horse statue.
I need a second for that.
I'll second.
Seconds it. Any comment from the floor on that? Seeing none, any comment from the board?
Yes, I had an opportunity to see the list. I had objection to some of the items on the list. We don't even have a final installation of new furniture, and I believe that it's premature, and I don't see the purpose for rushing this. It was even stated that we're still using some of those chairs in the great room while we're waiting for furniture delivery. The other question is fire rating on the new things. I would rather clear with the fire department that what we have is safe before we dispose of the old furniture. And I think it's just a matter of, we'll know in several weeks, a month, certainly by the next meeting. So I just don't see the urgency here to do something before we have the final sign off on what's new.
Okay, Bill, if you recall my email where I sent out the list to the board members, what we proposed doing was having a sale to the residents, and if it was something that had not yet been replaced, that we would, take your deposit on that furniture and then notify you the day the new furniture was arriving, and you could come and pick up your purchase. We're now finding ourselves in a situation where we're behind that, and now we've closed the card room. We're stacking up all the old furniture because we have nowhere to go with it. We haven't sold it. So what we were doing was kind of a pre-sale to the residents so that we know what was going to go and what we needed to arrange for donation for. As far as the fire marshal, we have collected all those certificates. Kimberly Haslam, she has talked to the fire marshal, and he is satisfied that the new purchases are in compliance with the fire regulations.
Robin, did your motion?
Yes. And the new, we have a new certificate, yes.
Robin, did your motion have a date for that sale?
I would like to have the sale next week.
Well, I question the accessories. It's not, everything has not been installed. I don't know why we're getting rid of some things, and not everything is red or a color that doesn't go with what's new. It's the last step of any professional decorating installation, and these items aren't taking a lot of our space, so I don't see why they should be included on this sale. The other thing that I question is the method. Someone has put a price on these items. I am in favor of a silent auction where we have a tag and we sell the item to the highest bidder, which is something that some of our committees have done with fundraisers, because we want to avoid the situation where someone says, well, I would have paid more for that. And from the list that I saw, I thought some things were candidly undervalued. And as the treasurer of the association, I want to maximize the value to the association.
Right. And as the vice president and the head of this committee, I have inspected every one of these items. And I can tell you that many of them are in an as-is condition. The lamps that we're selling, one needs rewiring, it doesn't even work. We have things that, are dented, scratched. I mean, the stuff's been out there for years, and frankly, not treated as we would treat items in our own household. So that is why we came up with the pricing we did. And we're looking for some expediency here because we have no storage space to put it.
I think that the treasurer of the association, not to pull rank, has higher authority than you do as a committee chair.
No.
For assessing value, Robin.
Let's not get in an argument. Here's my suggestion. If we can, let's amend the motion to go through with your auction with the items that.
The sale.
The items that any board member wants to keep off the list. Let's store those items until further notice, and we can have another sale. So essentially, you'll have 2 sales. The first sale will be the items that everybody agrees upon. The second sale would be those items that we held back. That means we can move forward with the larger.
You're
items.
amending my motion.
Now I'm asking if we can amend the motion. That's my suggestion. Because if we don't amend the motion and we go for the vote and it fails, nothing is sold.
Right,
So
and then,
I'm giving
and
you an
then,
option.
and then you can tell me where I need to put it.
We. I don't want to go there.
This is no different than the pool furniture.
So my question is, do you want to amend the motion?
I do not.
All right, any comments from the floor? So like.
This is so unnecessary
Right. That's.
for someone to try to enforce their will when it's obvious that if there is a disagreement and Matt's proposal takes into account both sides, to insist to have it one's own way is unfortunate and wrong. Okay?
Thank you.
I sort of agree with what Renee is saying. If we do this by an auction or highest bidder, how much more money are we actually going to make? And if we take that and divide it by 1,654 homes, how many people does it come to? If somebody happens to pay $50 for something that's worth $75, a resident is still getting the advantage of that. I think it's a lot less work to do it Robin's way. It gets rid of the stuff quicker. It's less work on any of the volunteers. Maybe what we should do is just do a show of hands of the people here, and if the majority of the people here think one way is better than the other, do it that way. So we've got a pretty good sized audience right here.
There's two conflicts that you're missing. One conflict is the type of auction. The second conflict is what we're putting up for sale. So it's not that simple.
I agree, but I think Robin's suggestion with the whole list with a set price on each thing is probably the easiest way to go. And if we do it that way, we'll do it the other way. We've got
That's
150 people here that can help us with that.
That's why the board will take a vote. Any other comments from the floor? Hearing none. Any other comments? One more.
Marilyn Mitchell, being on the design committee, I feel like we have the experience of 30 years of being in the furniture business. I have some idea of what things are worth, especially used furniture. I dealt with used furniture, new furniture, everything across the board. So the prices that we came up with are fair prices. They might be cheap to some of you, I don't know. But I assure you that maybe things, the way people are gonna look at this, that we're asking too much. So that's all I have to say.
That settles part of it, but how about the part that some of the items don't, some board members don't want all the items on the list sold. So we have to come to terms with that.
Well, I will add, I've approved of most of the items on the list. There were only 14 exclusions that I requested that one board member is making a big deal of. I mean, I could fit them all in my garage, and it's a non-issue. So, let's move forward with the 35. It's small potatoes. We approved $95,000 for this project. There's obviously more accessorizing that has to be done. There's more money that will be spent. I don't want to get hung up on the whole thing, but there are 14 items that we have that I don't see a purpose for selling. That's my only point.
And Bill, you have never told me what your intent is, where to use those items. I mean, you listed 14 items and we're not sure why you want us to save them and where their destination will be.
It doesn't matter where he's.
It does matter to me.
No, but it doesn't matter to the issue at hand.
He wants to keep them, we don't want to sell them.
Why are we keeping them?
That's his choice.
An example of the old chandeliers that we took down, we put very nice ceiling fans up there, which are very practical, by the way. And Rex actually talked to us about that before we did them, because it's not only an energy savings, it's also a big maintenance savings. But the old chandeliers were boxed up and put in the attic while I was up north. I don't know what we intend to do with them. I mean, are we gonna take the ceiling fans down and put chandeliers back up?
They're expensive chandeliers and the next board may want to. So it's not a choice of just tossing something out because you don't like it. It's a choice of setting it aside for future.
Okay, and then set them aside.
Well, that's the problem.
I think we need to get rid of the furniture, however.
So Bill, please list the 14 items that you wanna keep.
I sent you an email with the numbers and the description. I don't have it right here.
I don't have
can give it to you.
I can't vote on it unless I have a list.
So you want to table this motion or do you want to vote?
Sounds like song.
Yeah. Microphone.
How much money?
Microphone, please.
Here, you want to squeeze through here?
Can you just tell me the value of the whole 49 pieces involved, and I can get an idea of some 50, some are 100, some are 1,000, and then you determine if it's worth even bothering with. Otherwise, you have a mash party, you put it out in the barn and burn it.
We priced almost all of them under $100.
So you're looking at somewhere around $4,000 or less
For everything?
total.
No, it's less than that. Some stuff, $25, $10. I mean, it depends on what it is. But I mean, okay, Bill, I found your list. The pair of orange, red vases.
Robin, I don't think it's productive to go through it.
Oh, I do. A pair of hurricane lamps that are on the mantle. A large framed mirror which is damaged. Overhead light fixtures, the 2 chandeliers. A decorative box, a vase, 2 white lamps, of which I noted 1 is broken. Another decorative box, 2 pictures of shells, picture from a foyer, and picture from the great room. Those are the items that Bill wants to exclude.
So I've revised the motion with the exclusion of the 14 items that Robin just read, and to proceed with a sale of the remainder of the prices that were established by the committee and the board liaison to the committee.
I'm sorry, I see no use for those items, so I don't want to revise my motion.
Fair enough. Hearing any other comments from the board? All in favor of the sale with all the items, please say aye.
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 Motion fails, 2-2.
Oh, I didn't hear names.
Any nays? Nay.
Nay.
Thank you for your support.
Could have been revised. Hurricane shutters, Robin.
Okay, and my last item on the list is hurricane shutters. Last year, we amended our rules to allow hurricane shutters to go up on May 1st instead of June 1st. And this would apply to any shutters that are painted white, any of your roll down shutters, anything that match your house, any of the clear ones. It does not include just the metal ones that Pulte provided us when we bought our house. So I would like to make a motion that we change the rules again this year until we finally get our covenants rewritten, that we allow May 1st as the date for shutters to go up.
I second that motion. Any comment from the floor? Seeing none, any comment from the board? All in favor of that motion, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Tennis committee appointments.
Yes, the Village Hall Tennis Committee has an opening for a 3-year term, most recently filled by former homeowner Cynthia Scariata. And the committee chair, Jim Massey, is requesting the board of directors fill the 3-year term with Ann Creamer. And I recommend the board make a motion appointing Ann Creamer to the tennis committee for a 3-year term ending in December 2021.
I'll make a motion as read.
I'll second that.
Any comment from the floor? Seeing none, any comment from the board? All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And the ACC committee, we've withdrawn that appointment.
There you go. All right, we're heading towards public comment. I think Jerry needs a second.
So I'm going to stand up for this one. So I have made a decision, I've let the board know, and obviously my company, a couple of weeks ago, I gave notice and to terminate my employment. And this Friday will be my last day at the community. So it's really bittersweet. I got to tell you, the board's been great. The homeowners have been fantastic, and I love my staff. I got to tell you, I really, really do. But I think probably most people have had the opportunity to be in a position where something unexpected comes along, and it is such an opportunity that you just cannot pass it up. And such an opportunity has come my way. So very difficult decision, and I'm going to miss everybody a whole lot. And I really thank you for inviting me basically into your homes, and I've already developed quite a few relationships. So I'll miss you guys. Thank you very much.
Jerry, thank you very much. Each board member has an opportunity to make a comment. It's going to be hard to replace Jerry at this point. I mean, he's taken us through some hard times. I'm sure KW will fill the slot and we'll move forward in that manner. But Jerry has beat the bushes and cleaned the stakes out, and now it's going to be pretty easy for the next person to come along. So Jerry, for that, thank you very much.
I bet a lot of you are wondering why I didn't submit my name to run again for the board. I know I had a lot of people volunteer to be my campaign manager, and I do appreciate all of the support that I've received from the community and all the wonderful comments. For the most part, I have loved serving on this board. I mean, it has been a joy as I look at the pool, as I look at the town center refresh. I have really enjoyed working with the design committee. These ladies really deserve a round of applause for all the hours. I finally got to sit in those new chairs out in the guard area for the first time when I arrived back. And I sat there for 3 hours and I was like, wow, these are really comfortable. So it was a joy doing that. And I thank everybody for the opportunity to serve the committee, the communities.
I would like to wish my best wishes to Jerry and his move. I hope it's great for you, Jerry. You've certainly helped Village Walk in the last 7 months. We have overcome many hurdles. This is a different community than it was when you started, and you've contributed greatly to that. So thank you very much. I'd also like to thank Robin for her service. It's been a delight working with her, and her contributions have also benefited the whole community. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry, for working, putting up with us as a board. We've been probably more hands-on than you're used to, but you've taken it very well and worked with us and done a lot of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce.
I'd like to thank Robin. I haven't always agreed with everything, even though I did today. But she generally has a good reason, and she can really get things done. And I'd like to thank her for her service, stepping up.
All right, we're entering the public comment portion. If anybody would like to have the mic, except for Rick.
Rick Maven, Kubera. I happen to be the street rep for Kubera.
What is that?
It's a street. I had a resident come to me with an issue that he wanted me to email blast our street. And I told him I thought it was an HOA issue. It has to do with fungus that are killing some trees in Village Walk. Apparently, it's quite contagious. Any comment on that?
And Dermot,
Dama.
we are fully aware of it, and it attacks palm trees. And once we just realized that, but it attacks palm trees, and once it is in the ground, you cannot put another palm tree there. Now we're finding out it does do it to the pinnos. There's no cure. I've done some research on it where Epsom salt put around the tree that you replant does seem to slow it up, but it will continue. There is just no cure for it. Unfortunately, we do have it in a few areas in the community.
Anything the residents should be doing?
Well, I would like to add, working with the landscape committee and also your neighbor, Mike Coble, who I believe was the first one to identify its existence on your street. That tree has been removed. The soil has been removed. There's no way to treat it. Landscaping, land care is aware of it. I'm sure they're now on the lookout for it in other locations. It can spread. The spores will spread, and I know that they were very careful in removing those spores when they were on your street. So if that's any assurance, we haven't noticed it in any other locations, but we're on the alert for it.
Even Johnson Tree is aware that when they see it in the tree, they have to bleach their tools that they cut that tree with, because you can spread it to another tree with a tool. So it's a well-known disease for palm trees. Unfortunately, we have it, other communities get it, and we'll deal with it as we can.
Okay. Next question. Both today and in previous board meetings, there was mention of an updated reserve study.
Yes.
When will that be completed and posted online?
Reserve advisor has that information.
Yeah, so I just talked to reserve advisors yesterday, and I haven't been able to inform them back really of this. My point is that we met with them a couple months ago, and they are looking for us at this point to give them our recommendations in writing. That's what I said. So we had a phone conference with them. They're out of state, and it was our position that we've given them the information. We're waiting on it. It's like it's been so long. I called them up, and somehow we got our paths crossed, and they're waiting for us to put that in writing.
We emailed the whole file.
Yeah.
We can't get much more right.
Yeah. So we're working on it, and soon.
The current reserve study that is online is by reserves advisors.
Yes.
Done 2 years ago.
Right.
And Bill, you mentioned today that we are online, or we are close to what they are projecting with their new projections to what we should have in the reserves.
Well, beyond that, we've had a conference call with accounting from KW, the finance committee, and several board members going through revised projections and planning out pending projects and the reserves and our projections of what things will cost and what will have to be replaced. We've not seen a final report put to paper, but a lot of our input went even beyond what reserve advisors was putting in their initial template back to us.
What we project is taking money from the resale capital to supplement the reserve. And the reason we're doing that is, as you stay here longer, the reserve amount that you have to contribute grows. That's 7 to 8 years out, we're close to $1 million. That kind of punishes those people that live here longer. So what we propose to do is take some of the resale capital, invest that into the reserve, flattens out the reserve so that the reserve contribution that we have to put in will only increase by 2% a year. That doesn't punish those staying longer. That's the suggestions we have given them. That's something they're not used to doing. So he's going to propose something that they're normally going to propose. Every board and every association has the right to modify it and approve it. So we're going to modify what he gives us so that we can contribute from the capital resale to flatten out that account so that the people that stay here longest don't get punished. And that's our long-term goal.
Okay. The last reserve study 2 years ago showed that at the end of 2018, we should have about a little more than 2.1 million in reserves. And as Bill stated, a little less than 1.7 million. So that's about a $500,000 difference.
Yeah, they took 214,000 out for the restaurant. We took some stuff out this year for the projects we did, which was all in the reserve. We just have to flatten out the reserve so that we have to contribute more. They expected us to contribute close to 600,000 this year. We only put 400,000 in the budget. We're going to supplement the other 200 out of the capital resale. So that's our intent.
Can we have posted online what the actual expenses were from the reserve fund?
I think it's in the monthly.
It's not.
It is reserve expenses that is included in the financials.
Not the actual expenses.
Yeah.
Just the total. So for
Okay, I get you.
2018, it showed 598,000 spent from reserves. Can we get a
Yes.
breakdown?
Right, but
Yes.
Rick, if you look at the pool furniture, the town center furniture, that all came out of reserve.
I understand that, but can we get a breakdown?
And you have to remember, some of that was moved forward from this year to last year, so that's why we're less there this year. We pulled forward.
Okay.
And you also have to keep in mind that we have a line item in our operating budget for contribution to reserve. It's 384,000 in 2018, and will be 400,000 in 2019. So you mentioned that gap of 500. I mean, we're contributing 400 of that.
But the
And as Matt
reserve
said, we also
advisors,
pulled ahead. I will say, having been in some of those meetings, that our detail is Village Walk specific. They're dealing with a lot of formulas and possibilities for different types of asset classes. Our projections are very detailed.
I'll give you an example, because people tend to float when they hear that. They have almost $1 million to resurface all the roads in Quad 1. Not all the roads will need all resurfacing at the same time. You guys know that. You'll see roads get more traffic than others, so we're only going to do the high traffic roads. You're not going to use the whole million in that 1 year. So what we propose is to break it down, so there's some used in each year, each of 4 or 5 years, to do the same job but spread it out over time. That way we continue to grow the interest on that account without sucking all the money out at one time. It's just foolish.
will there be open finance committee meetings discussing this?
I'm sure there will be at some point. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jim Sutton. I had a ridiculous thing called a job. And so I'm not down here as often as I'd like to be. I have a tenant in my property on Locker Circle. I'm going to come down here as soon as I get either wealthy enough or retired. But as I get closer to that, I want to commend you people for all the work that you do. The reports that I get are at a level sufficient for all of my needs. You've done as best you can. We still get whacked with the fees, but that's the way it is. I expect that's going to happen. And since I've had the blessing of being at these meetings, I want to tell you it's a well-run organization. We're blessed to have you, and I just want to thank you very much for your service.
Can you top that, Vince?
No, I was going to say some nice things, but it's just me, I won't. Just a couple of small items. Thinking about the furniture. A while back, we discussed the idea of putting benches along the large pool area. We like to walk back there, but sometimes as you're walking, you get tired and you like to sit down. Or you just like to sit there and watch the ducks and people playing in the boats. Is anything going forward on that?
Yeah, I believe the town manager has looked into getting some benches without backs that we can put under the windows at the fitness center, under the roof, so people can sit out in the sun. So it's in progress. As we get more prices, we'll keep you updated on that.
Thank you very much. And the second thing is about the library. Spent some time in there, always stuffy, it's warm. I understand that it might, there's something with the air conditioning, but the wall is there. And they put in a fan, just look into it.
We'll look into it, maybe put a ceiling fan in there.
Very good. Thank you. And Robin, I had mentioned Comcast at the last meeting. I bit the bullet and they came. The man spent 4.5 hours. It was outstanding. And the service has been great since then. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, my name is Tom Tilka, and I reside at 28741 Xenon Way. Our car was damaged while parked in the handicapped space at the car wash and swimming pool parking lot on December the 28th. A video from a Village Walk security camera reveals a $1,600 damage to our car was caused by a golf cart driven by an adult male. We have posted pictures of the man and the golf cart on Nextdoor and requested anyone that can identify the driver to please contact us. My question to the committee is, do you know of some other way to get more exposure to the residents of Village Walk so the perpetrator can be identified?
So, just for everybody's understanding, yes, we have video surveillance, and we're first in Tom. So what we told Tom is what we tell everybody, that unfortunately, some people misuse some of that data. So we told Tom, when he makes his police report, to tell the police officer that we have that video, which he did, and that we are able to give that video and images to the police officer, and the police officer do whatever he wants to it. And as a matter of fact, when the police officer and Tom came down, I did give that evidence to the police officer, and then right then, instantaneously, he gave it to Tom, which is fine with us. We just don't want to put the association on a levelist position with that, and that's the reason we go through that protocol. And then Tom asked if we could put it on, through an HOA email blast or on a website or some avenue like that, and we declined. And it is because, again, if we would open up that door and put ourselves in a levelist position, if every time somebody had an issue on that video, regardless of what is asked us to do that. We're very supportive of Tom, and we knew he was putting it next door, and we encouraged that. So quite honestly, I think your announcement today that is on next door and maybe repost it, and then the people on the video can see it as well, encourage folks to go to next door and view that. And I think the same amount of people could view it on Nextdoor, which is not a part of the HOA, as they would if we posted it ourselves.
Yeah, and I do have one suggestion. As you know, if you have senior retired people and they have nothing to do, if you give them a task, they usually really run at it. So you may want to go over to the coffee shop and talk to the old guys that sit there every day, and maybe they can help you out with that. All right, seeing no other comments from the floor, we do have one. How are you today, Ernie?
Very good. Ernie Jarvis, Danny Ostrada. I got two things I'd like to start about. One is the fobs. They have shut-offs. Are they not locking the gates to the pool?
They are.
At night?
It's not the fobs that lock it, it's the fobs that unlock it. It's a mag lock system, and we time it to work and unlock the gate.
So they can just push it open, is what you're saying?
No, you have to have a fob to open it. Otherwise, it just stays locked. We did have once an incident that our maintenance crew is looking at right now, and that's when the power goes off, we have some vulnerability. And that's our exposure at this particular moment. But barring the electricity going out, the way the fob system works, it's a mag lock system, and it will keep it shut always, unless you have the fob to use it during the hours we program it to activate it. Otherwise, it stays shut. If anyone ever sees the gate open, sometimes, when I first got here, it was cracked a little bit, so I let maintenance know we need to tighten those hinges so it catches that mag lock. So that's more of a maintenance issue. So Matt, I'm glad you brought that up. If anybody ever sees that, report it to the office, and we can tighten the hinges.
But there was a report that some kids were in there.
Yeah.
Yes, I responded to that. We received some feedback on the hotmail, the hot line. That's right. And the people did not get in after hours. The fob was working, the gate was locked. They had just stayed beyond the closing time. And it was actually that incident that prompted our review of security procedures in general. And with the new protocol, it should not happen again. But the gate was locked that evening.
The other thing is, you guys don't have enough tables over there in the morning.
Where?
You used to have 3 tables.
Yeah, somebody broke one of the glass tops, and we're trying to get a new top for it without having to buy the whole table. So, if anybody has a round piece of glass, 28 1/4 inches around, we can use it.
Those are glass tops.
Yes, I heard that.
Anyway, I just couldn't understand how they get away with two.
We can't, but they're working on it. Thank you. Any other comments from the floor? If not, we're going to adjourn the meeting. Any motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everybody.